Hello and welcome. It's a good day to be on the farm. My name is Chuck and this is Calmsden episode 5, where we are working this farm to turn these fields now that the harvest has been done and get something planted here before the winter sets in. Our field off to our left has just been planted or is just being finished being planted with, I believe, barley. And we are trying to get this middle field cultivated and ready to go so we can plant this one as well in September, and hopefully we can do it fighting off the rain that's coming. So stay tuned and you can see how far we get today in September. Thanks for watching. Alright, welcome back. As you can see, we're just finishing off the edge of this field over here. We're actually going to leave that little corner uncultivated and not plant on there. And as we're working around this corner here, this is the last remaining part of the field that we haven't cultivated other than that giant rectangle in the middle. And again, I went over this a little bit last episode, but I want to reiterate so that it makes sense why I'm doing the edges first in the way that I'm doing. This field is huge. It's our largest field, and we definitely need some help from workers if we're going to get this done in a reasonable amount of time. So what I'm doing is sort of cutting a giant rectangle. Got caught. Don't get caught on the light pole like that. That's not good for anybody. Probably, if that happened in real life, I'd knock over that light pole and cut the power for my farm and all the rest of the farms on this road, and then have to explain that to the power company. So, yeah, don't do that. Anyway, what I'm doing is cutting a giant rectangle in the middle of the field that is uncultivated and doing all the edges around it with this cultivator. And what that's going to allow us to do is to be able to set a cultivator or set a worker using this cultivator to clean up that middle part. If I let the worker work on this abnormally shaped field by himself, they would get a little bit lost. They wouldn't necessarily go straight up and down the field. They wouldn't turn around, and they would leave all these little edges, kind of like you see right now, but I left those edges on purpose, so that I could come back and do the headlands like I am to clean them up. But the idea here is that we will essentially have this cultivator running on a worker in the middle while I start alternating with that seeder there. I think I called it a planter earlier in the video. It's actually a seeder. So I will try to correct myself from here on out. But planter, seeder, sometimes I use those interchangeably. They are just a little bit different. But we're going to go from there. So anyway, this side of the field, which I believe is the west side over here, is the last part that has not been cultivated other than that center. So once I get this all cultivated, that will allow us to put this bigger tractor with this giant cultivator to work in the middle of the field, and then we'll be able to start with that seeder on getting things going as well. So all of that being said, this allows me to work 2 tractors on the field and get this thing turned in a quicker amount of time. Obviously I'm using big equipment on this as well. If I had a small 4 or 6 meter cultivator, I could literally spend an entire farm day, so over an hour, maybe 2, just driving that cultivator up and down this field by myself, and then having to come back and do the same thing with this small seeder. So luckily we have some bigger equipment on this farm that helps expedite this process, but having 2 tractors going obviously expedites it even farther. And in this series I'm not so concerned with doing everything myself. My goal is just to get everything moving forward, so you guys can kind of see the progress that's being made on this. And also I'm editing a lot more on these videos than I was before. So anyway, we're going to just continue to work on this edge, and then hopefully in just a second we will get that seeder going as well, and that will be good. Alright, at this point our planter is done with the top field number 2, so we're going to bring it down here, and it looks like we just checked that chart to see canola can still be planted in September. In October it's just wheat and barley, but we already have barley going, and we already have wheat in the shed. So we're going to plant some canola on this big field, try to get a money crop off of this section. So we're going to go ahead and get this started here on a worker now that we've done this corner of the field, and hopefully this worker will run up and down and go to the left, not to the right when he turns. In fact, I think it'd probably be wise to actually manually do this first row, so I think that is what we're going to do here, is run this first row down ourselves with the canola. And then while this is being run on a worker to finish off this little corner here, we will finish off the opposite side of the field, which is our last corner for putting that grid, or not grid, rectangle onto the field, so that we can have a worker do that. So again, this is that same pattern I've been doing on these big awkwardly shaped fields. I'm going to cut it until there is a rectangle that the worker can recognize, and just to ensure that this worker doesn't try to plant on our uncultivated ground here on the right that still needs to have the cultivator pulled over it, we're going to go ahead and do a manual turnaround here, and then we will set this worker going on this corner over here. What am I doing here? That's not the direction. Yeah, let's big turnaround. Sorry about that. Yep, so we're going to set it here, back up and get it lowered, start the strip ourselves, but then set it off on a worker, and then we will switch back to that cultivator to try to get that last corner done. Then we'll be able to set the cultivator on a worker in the middle of the field where that rectangle is and switch back to the planter. So that's running now on the worker, the planter is, so we're going to go ahead and start with this, and I'm going to go ahead and do another time lapse here while I finish cultivating these edges, and then we'll go ahead and put this one back on a worker in the middle and take over on the planter seeder again. Alright, hang in there. Be right back. Alright, and as you can see, our worker is traveling on our middle section that we set him up on, and the rain has started, and we are going to go ahead and finish off this eastern side of the field manually now that we have a worker going on the cultivator. So this will allow us to, as I said before, have two tractors working on the same field, and I was really hoping that we could beat the rain, but it turns out that we're not going to be able to, which is fine. So we're going to go ahead and had to back up here. Let me get a second start on this strip. There we go, turn it on and lower it here in just a second. Yep, and then we're going to go ahead and just pull this through, and we're going to work the edge now that we're doing it manually, and then we'll come in and fill in this little edge. So this is the quickest way that I'm aware of to turn these fields. I find this to be my preferred method, especially on large fields like this. I mean, this is a pretty large seeder, but on a field this size it's still going to take a while to get this done. So in order to get all the canola in September, which is what we need to do, because we cannot plant canola in October because we chose a crop that could only be planted in August and September for this large field, so we have to fight through the rain and get it done today. And given the size of the field, I don't think it would be even worth considering stopping until the rain stopped to get there. See, look, we've got most of that done. Sorry, that was a quick flip over to the map, but yeah, given that this is the last month we can plant the canola, we obviously have to just keep powering through the rain. Luckily, the forecast shows that it will be cloudy later in the afternoon, so I don't know how long this rain will go, 3-4 hours maybe, but we will just keep moving forward. to the best that we can. And so I'm pretty satisfied though with how this is working. That cultivator is really nice. It is a mod. It's that mod that when we, at the beginning of the game, the beginning of this playthrough, we had sold our little cultivator and bought that Axion Kloss tractor to pull a bigger cultivator, and I had downloaded the mod at that point and said I want to make sure I've got something that's got enough horsepower to pull this giant thing, because knowing that these are as big of fields as they are, I wanted to make sure that we had a way to turn those over quickly. And so I've been very impressed with that cultivator and how quickly it chews up the fields. This is the seeder that was given in the base start of this map, so we haven't upgraded that, but it works pretty well. But of course it needs actually I think this one might be able to direct drill, so it doesn't necessarily need to be cultivated, but in order to kind of follow the order of things, I wanted to make sure that we had that cultivator to give us an option anyway, for how we wanted to handle that. So anyway, I've been pretty satisfied with how well this has gone. Obviously the seeding will take longer, just due to the working width of this, but once that cultivator is done chewing up the middle of the field, hopefully we'll have these ends done with this, and then we can put a worker on this seeder in the middle, just like we are doing with the cultivator right now, and kind of work our way out, and then either move on to the next field or get something else on the farm done at the same time. I actually really enjoy listening to the rain in this game. It sounds really good, and there's a little bit of thunder in there. Kind of enjoyed looking at that. So here you can see we did the entire east side of the east triangle of the map, and now we're just going to get lined up here to start doing the north triangle around that big rectangle. As you can see, we're just going to wait for that cultivator to turn around and start heading out of our way so that we don't impede with them. And I'm going to add in one last time lapse here as I do the north side of the field, and I'll be back in a second. And as you can see, I parked the seeder over on the western edge of the field there, near the road, because the rain has actually picked up, and I decided I really needed to stop seeding in the rain. This will pass sometime this afternoon, but to keep it even relatively realistic, I decided I had best not continue seeding in the rain. We can finish cultivating here, so I'm going to manually finish cultivating this field, which is only 2 or 3 strips up and down, and then we will be able to get this cultivator out of the way. And look at that map. See that? You can really see how well that's working. And this filter here, well, we switched to the one basically saying that all of this needs rolled. I don't think we're going to roll it because we're not going to have daylight for that. We've still got a lot of seeding to do, and we've got rain, so chances are this field won't get rolled. But anyway, so yeah, we're just going to finish off this cultivating, and then if the rain is still pouring down like it is, I think we'll probably park up in the shed for a little bit and just wait and see how long it takes to stop before we finish seeding. Can I get this in one strip? Oh, so close, but not quite. Just to play it safe, we're going to overlap the left edge here, since we're going to have to run once more anyway. I don't want to have to accidentally miss a spot and find myself having to run 3 strips for what should have been 1 strip. But alas, that's kind of how this works. But yeah, as you can see, that rectangle is coming in pretty clear. It almost looks like a square in this field, actually, just because it's wider. We're getting close. Depends on how we set up that bottom part of the field, which we still have to do. But overall, I'm pretty happy with how this is turned out. Canola, I think, will be a good profit crop for us off of this large field. We're not going to need canola probably to feed anything that we're going to be doing on this map, at least right away. We're going to get sheep started here shortly, but that's just grass. And we'll probably put some cows in too, since we have a really nice cow barn that's part of the second farmyard over here. But I don't really want to make cows the focus of this map so much as the sheep. I do want to try to get that sheep pasture going sooner than later. But there is a really nice pig pasture in this map as well, so we'll probably do pigs eventually, which we could save the canola for. Obviously we won't be harvesting this canola for several months anyway, but if this field continues like I think it's going to, we're going to get a ton of canola off of here, so we could save a tipper or 2 for the pigs and still probably have 3 to 4 tippers that we're ready to sell as well, to turn a profit off of this field, while we're doing barley at the top field, which we can use for our chickens and use to get more straw off the field as well, to help those animal pens move forward. Again, we got almost 3 trailers full of straw off these 2 fields when we did them the first time. And we did sell 2 of those trailers full of straw for almost $50,000. And then we kept that third one, which we stacked into the barn in, I believe, episode 3 or 4, but 3 I want to say. So we've got some straw saved away, and that's why I said we might do cows, just because we have some hay bales, although not that many, but we do have straw bales. And it'd be pretty easy to get silage. So we're done with this cultivating. We're just going to find somewhere in the yard to leave this giant cultivator while we're done with this field. These are the 2 fields we wanted to get planted before the winter came in. Field 6 down there is just going to have to wait till spring to be planted, so that means we have plenty of time to get the field work done for that. So we're just going to find a spot over here to leave this. That looks good. And then we're going to run into the barn here and speed up the time until the rain stops. So we'll stay dry, and once that rain finishes, we will come back and we will finish seeding the field. Thanks for watching, guys. Thumbs up if you liked it. Catch you in the next one. Have a good night.